time for another episode of Film Flam. Welcome back. I'm your host, the JD Richard. Today we're going to talk about 28 Years Later, a movie made 23 years after the original. I wonder if it was like coming up and they were like, hey, you realize like we'll be 28 years now, let's just do it now. So 28 Days Later is kind of like a pretty big, I guess, like cultish level horror film. I saw it in theater years ago and it was an absolutely tremendous theater experience, like white knuckling the last 20 minutes. It's also a very unique film and how Danny Boyle kind of presented it. Then you had the sequel 28 Weeks Later, which they kind of tried to mimic Danny Boyle's direction style, and then they also added in like an ungodly amount of shaky cam. Yeah, I'm telling you, that scene. No, I'm not going to do that, and I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable on the couch. There was a lot of shaky cam. I just constantly bouncing around, and there's a cut. Anyway, both really fun movies. 28 Weeks Later, I mean, both of them well acted, but 20 Weeks Later kind of, just due to some of the directing choices, not as good as the original, obviously, but still had some great acting. You also had to explain how kids like got past all these guards a couple of times in the movie, like Marines and stuff, but whatever, Hollywood's gonna Hollywood. 28 Years Later, apparently first part of a planned trilogy, which you don't necessarily feel till closer to the end of this film that, oh, there's still a lot more they want to say here. Let's just talk about the movie. So this film, directed by... So before I get into my review, as is tradition when I go to a film with friends, let's hear some of their thoughts.
No! They didn't stay in the pocket. They evolved. I thought it was awesome.
Very impressed, but I wish there was a little bit more action.
Just like get in the frame. Don't be afraid of it. There you go. Yeah, it's magic. It's happening right now. What you all think of the movie?
Not so scary, and oddly
wormy, zombie, delicious. There you go.
oddly nice. I don't know.
Some attractive, good, top shelf humans right there. So Danny Boyle returns to direct. Alex Garland returns to write. I'm pretty sure he wrote the original 28 Days Later. And this is a good movie. Acting's very good. Basically, your story follows the UK or England has been completely cut off from the world after the outbreak. People there living without technology, kind of like developing their own little societies, different ways to survive. Father and son. Son's going out hunting for the first time. His mother is sick. There's now alpha rage zombies. And like these are zombies, but they're definitely different. The rage virus is a little bit more visceral, like they're very feral. They're not necessarily like undead things walking around. They're just infected people that act like wild animals. And now they have big, giant, naked dudes that tell them what to do. If you are uncomfortable about any sort of zombie and or rage virus related nudity, man, do not go to this movie. It's some alpha slang and a wang, and it's intense, it's well acted, it's well written. However, the film does go through a few major shifts in its narrative and who the narrative's following and the tone of the narrative. I found some of that a little jarring. I also was a little bit saddened that the middle narrative, which does focus a little bit more on the boy, actually has like a really cool character added, and I thought they could have done a little bit more with that. I kind of felt like a little bit of a breath of fresh air in the film. And then again, it goes through another tonal shift towards the end, almost like they were three ideas or three structures to a script that kind of morphed into one. Maybe as they realized they wanted to expand this into a trilogy. But I really liked most of the movie. I think if you ask, like, is it better than the original? No. I think it falls between the two. It's probably not quite as good as 28 Days Later. Better than 28 Weeks Later. You're getting a ton of violence in here. There's a lot of action. There will be some really jarring moments, though, like just logic-wise, if you dwell too much on it, like me. I just couldn't help but ask. There's one point, like, I don't know what it is with the kids, like from 28 Weeks Later doing some weird stuff, but there's a point in this movie where you have to ask just how no one saw the young boy. Like, just there's a lookout tower right There's a dude in the lookout tower, like 20 feet away, and whatever. Kid is really good in this film. You have even small roles. You have some big actors show up for, which I didn't expect to see in the film, so that was really cool. There's a little bit of heart here. I think they kind of speed run through the emotional moment of the film. It just feels like we go from 0 to 60 extremely fast to get us to the end and the big reveal of kind of where the part 2 is going to go. But the action is handled really well. Thankfully, shaky cam to a minimum. There is some really odd directing choices with layering with like old war footage and colonial footage and stuff. I didn't really get it. I understand the messaging of it, but it's just very odd because it goes on for a long time. Listen, everybody came out of this movie and was more or less like, yeah, it was a good time. Some liked it a little better than others, as you saw from some of the reactions. But overall, I think you're probably going to leave this film and feel like you got your money's worth. It's a fun film. Lots of violence, lots of intense scenes. But it is a very awkward film when it comes to just the narrative and how it kind of does its own thing a few times. I think trying to hit a lot of markers. It feels like it was a much larger script or multiple. I don't know. It could just be imagining things, but it definitely feels like there's pieces of stories that were kind of smushed together here to make it this coherent line towards part 2 and eventually part 3. I have no idea how they're going to work those out. Overall, I'm going to give this film a 7. I think it's not a bad film by any means, but it wasn't great. Definitely did not leave me like 28 days later with that first theater feel with my hands like gripping the edges of the chair, just like the music welling up. This film doesn't quite capture that level, but likable characters, well written and well acted, a believable universe that, you know, kind of stays true to its thematic roots and its world building that it's done to this point. I think I hope in the upcoming sequel we see more of like the outside world, or maybe how they navigate having this whole country essentially quarantined. But definitely a good solid piece of summer entertainment. If you get a chance to get out there and see it, let me know what you think of it in the comments. And yeah, I'll definitely get out and see the second one. I don't know if I'll theater it. Maybe get talked into it by this group of friends and they'll hit me with like, no, we have to, we've seen all the other ones. So yeah, I'll probably get sucked into seeing it in theater again. Like, subscribe, share, and more reviews on the way. Hopefully I get out soon to another one. Look forward to,